Good afternoon, my name is Rosine, this is the Jazz Heart Baby and welcome to my channel. Today I thought I would show you a few books that I'm hopefully going to get to before the end of the year. Now this isn't a massive amount of books, I've got 5, but when you consider the fact that not including August we only have 4 months left, it might be a little bit difficult. But the thing is, I keep all my books that I need to read in a box. Any brand new book I get goes straight in there. Any book that I get, any book that I have that I want to reread also goes in there. So I have one place to go build all my powers from. My jar sits in there for when I want to use that and things like that. So everything is in one place. So I had a little go through the box, and none of these books I've had a hugely long amount of time. So it's not that bad. But I don't like to have a book for more than a few months before I finally get to it. With the amount of books I now have, that's getting a little bit difficult. So I wanted to go on camera to say if I've not read these books by the end of the year, I'm going to be incredibly disappointed in myself, because these are all books that I'm highly looking forward to. There's not a single book here that I'm kind of about. There are obviously other books in that pile that I'm hugely excited for too. I thought it was probably best to narrow it down to a select amount, because if I say, oh, I should just read all the books I'm really excited for by the end of the year, I'm not going to be reading the books that I'm less excited about, which goes against the whole point of having a neat box and a jar. So we're going to start with one that came out recently. I got this book as a pre-order and it was one that I was definitely excited to. It's a genre that I'm not sure many people who watch my channel like, but this is In Case You Missed It by Lindsay Kelk. Now this is a chick lit novel. This book is about Roz. Now she's been living in another country for a while, but when things mess up and she has to move back home to her parents, she thinks she has nothing. So when she winds up turning on her old phone, she gets a load of messages and missed calls and things from people that she hadn't been in contact with years, including the guy who broke her heart. So she decides to basically give things another go, see if she can, improve her life by going back on these things she might have missed all those years ago. And it looks like it should be a lot of fun. Lindsay Kelk, in my opinion, is probably the queen of chick lit right now. I hugely enjoy her writing, always. She writes these amazing series and standalones that are genuinely funny and where you genuinely care for the main character. And they're so good. They're so British even when they're set in another country, but they're so good. And just as soon as there was a new Lindsay Kelk novel out this year, I knew I had to read it as soon as possible. So if I can't get this one in very soon, I am going to be very disappointed. So I definitely need to read this before the end of the year. The next book I'm going to tell you about, I actually only got this month, so it was in my July haul. That is Harrow Lake by Kat Ellis. Now this is a YA horror novel about a girl whose father has made a cult horror film. So when she goes to the lake where it was based, she's pretty sure she knows everything that's going to go on. Only, turns out there are a lot of secrets there with the people there that she didn't know about, and she could wind up in danger when she's trying to solve this. Now I absolutely love horror films. I'm not such a huge fan of horror fiction because it doesn't seem to have the same sort of edge. I guess I tend to like a lot of really bad 80s cheesy slash flicks. So even within books, that's kind of what I'm looking for. But when it's in a book, I kind of want a bit more of an edge or a bit more realism, I guess. So I'm hoping this is going to be more on that sort of creepy sort of actually scary edge. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. It's very small. So, maybe I can get this read around October, around Halloween time, because that would be the ideal sort of time to read it, because I'm thinking it should definitely get me in a horror mood. Again, it's not a genre I read very much, but it's one I do want to read more of, so definitely need to try to get to this year. We then have The Obsidian Tower by Melissa Caruso. Now, I'm not completely sure if this is considered YA or adult fantasy. I found her other series, which is, it's not prequel to this. So we have this, which is the first book in the Rooks and Ruin trilogy. But before then, we had the Swords and Fire trilogy. Now these you could pick up in both the adult and the teen sections of the bookshop. I'm not sure what publishers class as. I think it might be technically the adult fantasy, but I could also see how it could be classed as YA. So if you know, please let me know. But in this world, it was almost Venetian inspired, where certain people have magical powers and they would then have to be tethered to another person to watch them. There was a lot of politics and things, and there was another country where the people had sort of different, more dangerous magic, including like connecting into animals or being able to easily kill each other, and there was the war, and it was really interesting. Now, the Rooks and Ruin trilogy is set, I think, a few thousand years after the Swords and Fire trilogy, and it follows an entirely new character. In this book, you have Rixander, who is a guard in a tower. Now, as far as she knows, the door within the tower must not be unlocked or it will unleash a lot of dangerous magic. Only one day the door starts to seem a little weird, and obviously this is going to be the beginning of a new adventure for her. Now, I know you at least get a glimpse of some of the things that happened after the events of the Swords and Fire trilogy, which is quite interesting, but at the same time, it is going to feel like a whole new world. It's one I'm definitely excited to get into because I want to know how the world changed. I want to meet this new character. I want to explore the magic here. I absolutely adored the Swords and Fire trilogy, and I'm thinking I'm going to adore this one too. So I've had this a little while now, and I am so desperate to get to it. I think if I can't manage to put this in my September TBR, well, I will put this in my September TBR no matter what, I'll put it this way. If I don't get it in the game, I'm probably just going to go shove it and grab it off and put it on the pile anyway. So this is, yeah, it's definitely one I am so excited for. My books so far have admittedly probably been a little too white, I'll admit that. But again, there are other books that I am excited for that I'm not including in this video, like Forest of Souls. But one I definitely wanted to highlight that I need to read before the end of the year is A Song of Rooks and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. Now, this book focuses on Karina, who is a princess whose mother has just died. She knows there is magic to bring her back to life, but to use this magic she will need a king's heart. Because there is no king anymore, she will have to marry herself to turn a man into the king just so she can kill him and bring her mother back. Now, to do this, she decides to hold some sort of competition, and within that you have Malik entering to attempt to change his life. Obviously, they are going to fall in love. There is going to be a lot of action. I am so fascinated by the idea of this whole competition just so she can basically kill him, because I know falling in love is going to make things so difficult, and I am so excited, and I want to meet them and explore the world and the magic, because I know the magic is just going to be fascinating in this. So yeah, this is one I definitely need to get to. I haven't mentioned, but it's a YA fantasy. But honestly, if you've not heard people talking about this already, then I don't know where you've been, because it was one of the books that was highlighted as coming out soon as amazing, and I want to see why it's so amazing, because I know I'm going to absolutely love it. I think, like with the Obsidian Tower, I might have to just shove this in my pile next month, no matter what, because it's definitely one I really want to get to. And I'm actually kind of disappointed it didn't get in my August pile, because it easily could have done, because I did have it when I did the video. Unfortunately, it didn't. So the last book I want to read before the end of the month is Girl, Serpent Form by Melissa Bash. I don't actually know how you say her last name, but Melissa Barsha Dorst, I guess. I probably completely messed that pronunciation up, but I have no clue. But this is a Persian-inspired fairy tale which follows Soraya. Now, Soraya is a girl who has a curse on her that essentially makes her be seen as a demon. She worries that this curse is turning her actually into a demon, so one day on, I believe it's her brother's wedding day, she decides to finally step out of the shadows when she meets a boy who isn't afraid of her. So she decides that between him and this, I believe she meets a monster or a demon or a darkness hidden somewhere, she decides to try and discover who and what she really is. It's supposed to be sapphic, it's supposed to be really good. Again, it's pretty short, and it's one I have been excited to read since I found out about it before it came out earlier in the year. When I knew it was going to be a fairy book, I had to make sure I had that box, because, this is a book I desperately want to read. I'd say I need to make sure this is in my pile next month again, but I can't keep doing it. I said by the end of the year. So by the end of the year, if I haven't read this, I want you to all shout at me to read it straight away, basically, because it needs to be done and I'm going to enjoy it. and it's going to be so good. So yeah, that's it for now. That was 5 books. If you have read any of them or would be interested in buddy reading them or just would like to read them yourself, why don't you guys let me know by leaving a comment below. That's basically it. I don't have anything else to say, so please just remember to like, subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks.